Chapter 1. The warehouse was coffin dark. I put out a hand, feeling my way up the stairs. I knew I wasn't alone. I strained to hear movement, a scuffed foot, the rustle of clothing, the clink of ammunition, anything. There was nothing, just the sound of my own labored breathing. If I had known all that would happen these past months, I would have entered that stupid sweepstakes? No, I thought, never. But my hand pressed against the tokens in my chest, protective. I climbed faster. Our team was shattered. 2 of us left. Only one would walk away from this encounter, but I didn't want to kill again, and I didn't want to die. Every superhero has an origin story. Mine began with a box of cereal. "Mom," I said, pulling a box of Blueberry Bonanza out of the grocery sack. "Really?" I'd like to say I was helping her unload the groceries because I'm that wonderful. In fact, it was an excuse to escape. When she'd returned from the store, I'd been working on Accursed Geometry. "They were on sale," Mom said. "I thought you'd like to try something different." I opened the box and poured some fruitish nuggets and marshmallow fun onto my hand to show her. "Oh," she said, "I didn't realize they were so blue." "Gualaca," I said. The Spanish word for gross sounded so perfectly gross. "Gualaca," she agreed. I was going to put the cereal in the solitary confinement on a high shelf when I noticed the words "Astronaut Boot Camp" on the back of the box. "Sweepstakes open to the U.S. residents ages 12 to 18. Grand prize includes 3 weeks at Hale Astronaut Boot Camp." "Thanks for the spontaneous help," Mom was saying as she put away the fridge items. "Am I correct in assuming I'm saving you from geometry?" "Now, Mom, you know I find nothing so thrilling as calculating the area of a triangle." I shelved the box, too ashamed to show my mom the sweepstakes. Since I was 5, I wanted to be an astronaut, but little kids always dreamed of being astronauts, princesses, or spies, and they grew up to realize that's impossible. I should have outgrown my space fantasy by now. "Hey, Maisie," Dad said, coming in from the garage. "Did you hear about the dog that gave birth to puppies in the park? She was arrested for littering." "Heard it," I said. "Can you really not remember which puns you've tried on me?" "I have a photographic memory, but it was never developed." "Heard that one, too." Newly motivated, I hurried through math so that I could get on the Astronaut Boot Camp website in order to enter the sweepstakes online. I had to fill out a survey. It was crazy long. "Wow, there's something shockingly unnatural about bright blue food, isn't there?" Dad called from the kitchen. How had he even found the cereal? "Did you know there's no FDA-approved natural source for blue food dye?" "Yep. The color blue is an appetite suppressant, our body's primal instinct to warn us to stay away from poisonous things," he went on in full lecture mode. "Blueberries are actually purple skin around green pulp, and red foods like maraschino cherries owe their color to the ground-up bodies of female cochineal insects." "Mom bought the cereal," I called back. I started to feel guilty, as if I were lying to my parents, so I added, "Read the back of the box." "Oh," Dad leaned around the kitchen wall. "Maisie, you know the odds of winning the sweepstakes must be astronomical." No pun intended, for once. "I know, I just thought, why not enter, right?" "Okay then, when you grow up to be a famous astronaut, don't forget your humble roots. Those who get too big for their britches will be exposed in the end." Enough already. And the survey went on and on. "This is weird." "What?" Dad was sitting on the couch now, reading a science journal and absently rubbing his bald spot. These past few years, the spot had degraded into more of bald territory, and he only had a rim of puffy hair left. I wasn't afraid to hurt his feelings I was afraid I'd hurt his feelings if I suggested he shave it off. "It's a marketing survey," I said, "but listen to these questions. How would you rate your memorization ability? How many languages do you speak at home? Here's my favorite. What would you do if you were in an elevator on the 50th floor of a building and the brakes broke and you began to plummet?" Dad put down the journal. "What would you do?" "I'd climb through the hatch in the elevator ceiling, take off my pants, wrap them around one of the cables, and tighten until I slowed my fall, and then I'd swing onto a ledge and wait for rescue." "And put your pants back on, of course." I frowned at him. "I just escaped a runaway elevator and you're worried that someone will see me without my pants?" Are you kidding? My baby girl's a teenager. I worry about everything, Karina. He shouted. Karina, he shouted towards Mom in their bedroom, which doubled as her office. Can we hire someone to guard Maisie for the next several years? Maybe a Navy SEAL? Adelante, she shouted back. Mom was Paraguayan. Even though she'd been living in the States since she was 18, she still had an awesome accent. Get a cute one with a full head of hair. Hey, he said as she giggled at her own joke. I thought my plan would work. That is, if I had two hands to grab the pants. In my mom's uterus, amniotic bands had wrapped around my forearm, and I was born without a right hand. It was my right arm's fault I was into space. When I was old enough to dress myself, Dad replaced buttons on my clothes with Velcro, saying, Velcro, just like the astronauts. I wanted to know more, and a few library books later, I was a space geek. Howell Astronaut Boot Camp, he said, reading over my shoulder. I didn't know Bonnie Howell ran a summer camp. Bonnie Howell was, of course, the billionaire who built the Beanstalk, the world's only space elevator. A library books published less than 10 years ago still called it a space elevator. Decades away. But the Beanstalk's very real ribbon of carbon nanotubes connected an ocean platform to an asteroid in the geostationary orbit 36,000 kilometers up. That's 22,000 miles, but I was raised on the metric system, a side effect of having scientist parents. She said she started boot camp to ignite the love of science in the teenage mind, I said, scanning the Wikipedia article. Hey, do you know she has a full space station on the Beanstalk's anchoring asteroid? She used the station for miming operations and unspecified research. Dad perked up to him. Research? Meant hours of nonstop fun and all the comfort of a white lab coat. He went off to his science buddies for more detail. There was a single knock at the door, and Luther let himself in. Buenas tardes, he said. Buenas, mijo, Mom greeted him from her room. Get something to eat. Luther shuffled to the kitchen and returned with graham crackers smeared with chocolate hazelnut spread. He was wearing his typical white button-down shirt, khaki pants, and black dress shoes. He sat in Dad's vacated spot on the couch, setting his plate on the threadbare armrest. Did you finish accursed geometry so we can talk science project? Luther scowled at me, but he didn't mean it. He just needed glasses. He refused to succumb to another stereotype of nerd. Yeah, hang on a second. I answered the last question on the marketing survey and clicked submit. Okay, your turn. I grabbed Luther's arm and pulled him into the computer chair. Maisie, Wow, you're all muscly. My hand was on his upper arm, and he tried to fight me off. He flexed his biceps. We'd been homeschooling together for 5 years. When had he gone and grown muscles? I squeezed again. Seriously, you're not scrawny anymore. He pulled away, his face turning red. I pretended not to notice. Filling him in on the sweepstakes. He laughed when I told him my answer to the elevator question. That only works in the movies. Never mind. I think science project... Could a lightweight car function in a kind of electromagnetic repelling the Earth's magnetic force so that it could hover, reducing friction and therefore using less energy to propel itself? Definitely. Luther started sketching out ideas. I smiled and pretended enthusiasm as I had been for the past year. Pretending. My world felt like it was shrinking. My tiny house, my tiny life, my mom and dad, Luther, riding my bike in the neighborhood, studying space but going nowhere. Why did everyone else seem fine, but I felt as if I were living in a cage? I'd outgrown two shoe sizes ago. Luther had a big extended family with reunions and camping trips and dinners, and they went to church and joined homeschool clubs, played sports. My parents believed in staying home. I told myself I could survive without change. Things weren't that bad. College wasn't so far away. Then astronaut boot camp taunted me. It could be a fascinating experiment. Take Maisie out of her natural habitat, put her in a new place with astronomical possibilities, some pun intended, and see what happens. You could say I regularly checked the website for updates, if regularly means 20 times a day for weeks and weeks. Dad and I were talking, Mom said one day, and if you don't win, maybe we can save up and send you next summer. Thanks, Mom, I said. I knew there was no way that they could afford it. I had to win. The degree of my wanting alarmed me. I had always been certain of 4 things. 1. I wanted to be an astronaut. 2. Space programs recruited the able-bodied types. 3. I had to be so good at science, my limb lack wouldn't matter. 4. Science required requires objectivity, and emotions create errors. To be the best scientist, I needed to rid myself of cumbersome human emotions. I winced my way through the spiraling, trying to become Maisie Robot. I thought I'd prepare myself for the inevitable disappointment when I came home from Luther's one day to a year's supply of blueberry bonanza on our front porch. Accompanying the letter left no doubts. You won. You won. You won. You won. You won. It was happening. That huge whooshing engine of anticipation wasn't going to zoom past and leave me in the dust. I lay back on the stoop, hugging one of the boxes of nasty cereal, and stared up at the sky. At the glance, the blue seemed solid, but the longer I stared, the more it revealed its true nature as a shifting thing, not solid and barely real. The sky seemed as artificial as the cereal in my arms. It wasn't a cage. I wasn't really trapped. I was about to break free. And that is chapter 1 of Dangerous by Shannon Hale. Hope you enjoyed.